In today's episode, we delve into a gripping story of buried truths and concealed deceit in the Deep South. The narrative starts with the tragic death of a young woman cherished by those around her and unfolds into a chilling revelation about a serial killer leading a double life right under everyone's noses. Myra Everson was a 25-year-old vibrant woman who brought joy and creativity to those around her. She lived in Bentonville, Arkansas, a small town famous for being the home of Walmart, the leading retailer in America. Myra was known for her artistic spirit and her passion for helping others. She worked at Helping Hands, a local homeless shelter, where she poured her heart into her job. Myra frequently organized fundraisers and donation drives to support the shelter. Her kindness and commitment made her a well-respected figure in the community. Myra was deeply engaged in the local art scene. She had a passion for painting and regularly took part in art shows and exhibitions. One of her favorite places was the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. She would spend hours at the museum, admiring renowned artworks and drawing inspiration for her own pieces. Raised in Bentonville, Myra attended Bentonville High School, where she excelled in both English and art. Her parents were Reverend Azazel Everson and Clara Everson. Clara passed away when Myra was just 10, leaving her to be raised by her strict and overbearing father. Despite his tough demeanor, Myra stayed optimistic and cheerful. Myra had a younger sister named Lyra, with whom she was very close. Lyra often spoke of Myra as her best friend and greatest supporter. Myra also had a tight-knit group of friends, including Lily Harrington, a colleague from the homeless shelter. Myra had grand dreams for the future. She envisioned opening her own art studio, a place where people could come together to create and enjoy art. She frequently spoke with enthusiasm about her plans, imagining a vibrant space filled with colorful paintings and joyful individuals. In the days leading up to her death, Myra was immersed in preparations for an art exhibition set for the end of October 1992. Excited about the event, she dedicated countless hours to perfecting her paintings. Myra's lively personality and kind nature made her a cherished figure in the Bentonville community. Myra had a special gift for making everyone around her feel valued and loved. Her unexpected and tragic death created a significant emptiness in the lives of those who knew and adored her. On the morning of October 14, 1992, Bentonville, Arkansas, was gripped by a chilly, overcast day. At around 8 a.m., Myra's friend and co-worker, Lily Harrington, arrived at Myra's house for their usual carpool to Helping Hands homeless shelter. Upon arrival, Lily saw that the front door was slightly ajar. Assuming Myra might have briefly stepped out, Lily called out her name but heard no reply. Feeling a growing sense of unease, she hesitated for a moment before pushing the door open and stepping inside. The living room was unnervingly quiet, with a chill in the air. As Lily ventured further inside, she discovered Myra lying on the floor. Frozen in shock, Lily struggled to comprehend the horrifying sight before her. Myra's face was pale, and her left hand was gruesomely injured, with 3 fingers missing. Heart pounding, Lily hurried to check for any signs of life but quickly realized that Myra was deceased. Overcome with shock and fear, Lily staggered back and grabbed the kitchen phone to call 911. Her voice trembled with panic as she described the scene to the dispatcher, struggling to grasp that her friend was dead. The news of Myra's death spread rapidly throughout Bentonville. By the time the police arrived, a small crowd had gathered outside Myra's house. The brutal nature of her murder left many questions unanswered. Why would someone target such a cherished community member? As the investigation unfolded, the people of Bentonville were left in shock and fear, grappling with the uncertainty of who could commit such a horrific crime. The police arrived promptly at Mayor Everson's house on the morning of October 14, 1992. The chilly, overcast weather mirrored the somber atmosphere. Detective Samuel E. Myra, a seasoned investigator renowned for his meticulous approach, led the team. Detective Karen Genora, his astute and perceptive partner, accompanied him. Upon entering the living room, the detectives were confronted with a disturbing sight. The room was a mess, with overturned furniture and scattered items. A blood-stained belt was found on the floor, clearly used to strangle Myra. The scene was startling even for the seasoned detectives. Myra's body displayed signs of a violent struggle, and her left hand was grotesquely mutilated, with 3 fingers severed. Detectives E. Myra and Genora meticulously examined the crime scene, documenting every detail with numerous photographs and thorough notes. They collected the belt and other potential evidence, including fingerprints and fibers. The detectives observed a broken lamp and scattered books, indicating a fierce struggle between Myra and her attacker. Forensics teams arrived soon after to assist with the investigation, employing various tools and techniques to collect and analyze evidence. The forensics team dusted for fingerprints, collected hair and fiber samples, and searched for additional clues to help identify the murderer. The sheer brutality of the crime suggested a deeply personal motive, and the detectives understood the urgency of solving the case. Neighbors and bystanders observed in silence as the police carried out their work. Bentonville was a close-knit community, and news of Myra's murder quickly spread. People were stunned and frightened, struggling to understand why someone would kill such a cherished young woman. Detective E. Myra interviewed Lily Harrington, who had discovered Myra's body. Lily, still in shock, gave a detailed account of her discovery. She recounted finding the front door ajar and the horrifying sight of Myra's lifeless body on the living room floor. Her testimony helped the detectives piece together the timeline of events. The investigation team questioned neighbors to see if anyone had observed or heard anything unusual that morning. Some reported hearing Ray's voice late at night, while others noted a strange car parked nearby. The detectives carefully recorded each detail, aware that even the smallest clue could prove crucial. As the day progressed, the police remained focused on their investigation, determined to secure justice for Myra. The crime scene was thoroughly examined for evidence, and the detectives began reconstructing the tragic events leading to her death. The investigation soon shifted its attention to Myra's father, Reverend Azazel Everson. Azazel was a prominent figure in Bentonville, Arkansas, widely respected for his role as a preacher. At 56 years old, he was charming and sociable, often regarded as a pillar of the community. However, beneath his outward charm, Azazel harbored a dark and controlling side that few were aware of. On October 15, 1992, Detective Samuel Emera and Karen Genora brought Azazel in for questioning. Meeting him at the police station, the setting was a stark contrast to the comforting atmosphere of his church. Azazel appeared calm, but a noticeable tension was evident in his eyes. During the interrogation, the detectives inquired about Azazel's relationship with Myra. He spoke affectionately of her, but avoided discussing their conflicts. However, the detectives were aware from Myra's friends that she frequently had disagreements with her father. Azazel disapproved of Myra's independence and her passion for books, viewing them as a challenge to his strict beliefs. This was a notable conflict in a region where only 31% of women are literate. Azazel's alibi was weak. He claimed to have been alone at home the night of Myra's murder, reading the Book of Revelations and preparing his sermon. When asked if anyone could confirm his whereabouts, Azazel became defensive, insisting that his account should suffice. The detectives pressed on, inquiring about any recent arguments with Myra. Azazel acknowledged a heated disagreement a few days before her death but minimized its importance. Azazel described the disagreement as a typical father-daughter spat. However, the detectives were aware that Myra had confided in friends about her father's controlling nature and his anger over her reading habits. Despite his outward calm, Azazel displayed signs of nervousness. He fidgeted with his hands and avoided direct eye contact. The detectives observed these behaviors, sensing there was more beneath the surface. Azazel's motive began to seem clearer. Azazel sought to control Myra's life and remove anything he perceived as a threat to his authority. To gather additional evidence, the police obtained a search warrant for his house. During their search, they discovered a hidden room in the basement. The hidden room contained unsettling items, including restraints and numerous books on punishment and control. This discovery revealed a darker side of Azazel's true nature and his obsession with dominance. As the investigation progressed, Azazel remained a primary suspect. Azazel's secretive and controlling behavior, coupled with his weak alibi and the hidden room, made him a key focus for the detectives. Determined to uncover the full truth behind Myra's tragic death, they now turned their attention to Jannalise Loges. Jannalise Loges, a 59-year-old oil driller from Oklahoma, was known for her determination and resourcefulness. With a reputation for uncovering difficult truths and excelling in the male-dominated field of oil drilling, she was a formidable figure. On October 17, 1992, Detective Samuel E. Myra and Karen Genora traveled to Oklahoma to interview Jannalise. They met Jannalise at her modest home, which was filled with mementos from her work and travels. She greeted them with a firm handshake, her eyes sharp and curious. During the interview, Jannalise spoke candidly about her relationship with Myra. Jannalise admitted that she and Myra had become close friends and had even developed a sexual relationship. She revealed that Myra had asked her to kill Reverend Azazel Everson after he had physically assaulted her for reading a novel by Joyce Lehman. Jannalise explained that she had become protective of Myra and wanted to help her escape her father's control. When asked about her whereabouts on the night of Myra's murder, Jannalise provided a solid alibi. She was working on an oil rig in West Texas and had multiple co-workers who could confirm her presence. Despite this strong alibi, the detectives were intrigued by her connection to Myra and her deep-seated animosity toward Azazel. Jannalise described Azazel as a cruel and manipulative man who abused his position as a preacher to control his daughter. She spoke passionately about her desire to help Myra escape his influence. Although she admitted to planning to kill Azazel, she insisted she had no involvement in Myra's murder. Throughout the interview, Jannalise remained calm and composed. She answered the detectives' questions straightforwardly and displayed no signs of nervousness. Her demeanor and solid alibi made it challenging for the detectives to link her directly to the murder. Despite her solid alibi and composed demeanor, Jannalise's close relationship with Myra and intense dislike for Azazel kept her under scrutiny. The detectives knew they needed to explore every lead thoroughly. The contrast between her strong alibi and the disturbing nature of the crime left them with more questions than answers. Determined to uncover the truth and seek justice for Myra Everson, the detectives continued their investigation. On October 20th, 1992, Bentonville enjoyed a crisp, clear morning. Around 9 a.m., a local jogger was running along a wooded trail near Myra's home. As he ran along the trail, he noticed something odd in the bushes. Curious, he stopped to investigate and found a small blood-stained bag partially buried under the leaves. He immediately contacted the police, and Detectives Samuel Emera and Karen Genora arrived at the scene shortly thereafter. They carefully retrieved the bag and examined its contents. Inside, they discovered 3 severed fingers wrapped in a piece of cloth. The detectives quickly concluded that these were likely Myra's missing fingers. The discovery of the bag and fingers marked a significant breakthrough in the case. The detectives carefully documented the evidence and sent it to the forensics lab for further analysis. The lab confirmed that the fingers belonged to Myra and identified the cloth as part of a shirt belonging to Reverend Azazel Everson. The detectives interviewed Brian Daniels to gather more details about the discovery. Brian explained how he found the bag while jogging and mentioned that he hadn't noticed anyone suspicious in the area. His clear and straightforward account helped the detectives understand how the evidence might have been concealed. With the new evidence linking Reverend Azazel Everson more closely to the crime, the detectives refocused their attention on him. They obtained a search warrant for his home and conducted a thorough investigation. In Azazel's bedroom, the detectives found a blood-stained shirt that matched the cloth from the bag, further implicating him in Myra's murder. The police also re-interviewed Lily Harrington, Myra's friend who had discovered her body. Lily recalled that Myra had been anxious about her father's increasingly erratic behavior in the days before her death. Myra had confided in Lily about her fear that Azazel might harm her. This testimony, combined with the new evidence, significantly strengthened the case against Azazel. Detectives Emera and Genora felt they were closing in on solving the case. The discovery of the bag and the forensic evidence provided key links that pointed to Azazel as the prime suspect. The detectives persisted in gathering evidence, committed to bringing justice to Myra Everson and uncovering the full truth behind her tragic death. As the investigation into Myra Everson's murder advanced, Detectives Samuel Emera and Karen Genora uncovered another troubling connection. On October 22, 1992, they received a report about the murder of Theria Haddon, a 28-year-old woman from nearby Fayetteville. Theria had been strangled with a belt and had 3 fingers severed from her left hand, mirroring the circumstances of Myra's death. Theria Haddon was known for her ambition and dedication to her work as an escort. Although she kept her job discreet, she had been in a secret relationship with Reverend Azazel Everson for over a year. Detectives Emera and Genora quickly recognized the connection between the 2 murders and decided to investigate further. They traveled to Theria's apartment, a small yet tidy place adorned with simple but elegant furnishings. Inside, the crime scene bore a chilling resemblance to Myra's. The living room showed signs of a struggle, with overturned furniture and a blood-stained belt lying on the floor. Theria's body was found similarly to Myra's, with her fingers missing. Detectives interviewed Theria's neighbors and acquaintances, discovering that she admired Azazel's charisma and saw him as a way to escape her life of poverty. Theria had confided in a close friend about her relationship with Azazel. The friend described Theria as hopeful and driven, with a desire for a better life. The detectives also discovered a diary in Theria's apartment where she had detailed her relationship with Azazel. The diary entries revealed that Theria had uncovered something disturbing about Azazel's secret life. She had found evidence linking him to illegal drug running and was planning to confront him. This discovery provided a possible motive for her murder. During the investigation, the detectives interrogated Azazel again. He appeared noticeably more nervous but continued to maintain his innocence. He admitted to knowing Theria but denied any involvement in her death. His alibi for the night of Theria's murder was as weak as his alibi for Myra's. Despite Azazel's denials, the detectives pressed on, cross-referencing evidence from both crime scenes. They discovered striking similarities that further linked him to the murders. The belts used in both murders were of the same brand and size, and the method of strangulation was identical. Additionally, fibers from Azazel's clothing were found on both victims, further implicating him in the crimes. The investigation into Theria's murder added a new layer of complexity to the case. The detectives were now facing a serial killer who had targeted 2 women connected to Azazel. They knew they needed to act swiftly to prevent further tragedies and bring the murderer to justice. On October 25, 1992, Bentonville, Arkansas, woke up to a cool, rainy morning. Detectives Samuel Amera and Karen Genora received a significant breakthrough in their investigation. Forensic analysis of evidence from both Myra Everson and Theria Haddon's murders pointed to a new suspect, Mark David Lilius, the husband of Janelise Lilius. Mark David, a 61-year-old traveling revivalist preacher, was known for his charismatic sermons. However, his public persona concealed a dark secret: he was living a double life as a serial killer. Mark David had meticulously crafted an alibi by frequently traveling, which initially made it challenging to link him to the crimes. Detectives Amera and Genora determined that Mark David had murdered Myra to stop her from revealing his double life. Myra had uncovered incriminating evidence against Mark David through his wife, Janelise, with whom she had been in a sexual relationship. Theria had also discovered evidence of Mark David's involvement in Myra's affair and planned to confront him. To silence Theria, Mark David killed her in the same brutal manner. Detectives coordinated with local police in Tulsa to track him down. On the evening of October 25th, they found him at a revival meeting he was hosting. The weather was stormy, with heavy rain hammering the roof of the small church where Mark David was preaching. The police moved in quietly to avoid alarming the attendees, and Mark David was taken into custody without resistance. He appeared surprised by the arrest but remained calm. At the police station, detectives Amera and Genora interrogated him. Initially, he denied any involvement, but the overwhelming evidence against him soon shattered his facade. He confessed to the murders, revealing that he killed Myra and Theria to protect his secret life as a serial killer. He feared that exposing his double life would ruin his reputation and his wife's trust. His calm demeanor during the confession was chilling, highlighting the cold and calculating nature of his crimes. The arrest of Mark David Lilius brought a mix of relief and sorrow to Bentonville. Myra's family, deeply devastated by her loss, found some closure knowing the murderer was caught. Theria's friends and family also experienced a sense of peace with the justice served. The detectives felt a sense of accomplishment, but were also deeply saddened by the brutal nature of the crimes. Their tireless efforts to bring justice for Myra and Theria had paid off. With the perpetrator behind bars, Bentonville could begin to heal, knowing that the person responsible for these heinous acts was finally apprehended. In June 1994, the trial of Mark David Lilius, charged with the murders of Myra Everson and Theria Haddon, commenced in Bentonville, Arkansas. The prosecution was led by District Attorney Sarah Jane Kersey, renowned for her commitment to justice. The defense attorney was Robert Luley, a skilled lawyer known for handling high-profile cases. The courtroom was filled with spectators eager to see justice served. Myra's family, including her sister Lyra Everson, sat in the front row, their faces a mix of grief and determination. Theria's friends and supporters were also present, showing solidarity with her memory. During the trial, the prosecution built a compelling case against Mark David Lilius. They presented witnesses, including Detective Samuel E. Imera and forensic experts, who testified about the evidence connecting Mark David to the murders. Recordings of Mark David's confession were also played, underscoring his chilling admission of guilt. District Attorney Kersey argued that Mark David's motive was to protect his double life as a serial killer. She depicted him as a cold and calculating individual willing to commit murder to safeguard his reputation and keep his secrets hidden. Her impassioned closing argument resonated strongly with the jury and spectators. Defense attorney Robert Lully sought to create doubt in the jurors' minds by questioning the reliability of the evidence and suggesting that Mark David's confession might have been coerced. He also portrayed Mark David as a devoted man of faith and a pillar of the community, aiming to humanize him for the jury. After several weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury found Mark David Lilius guilty on all counts of murder. The courtroom erupted in applause as the verdict was announced. Myra's family embraced, tears of relief streaming down their faces, while Theria's friends hugged tightly, finding solace in the justice served for their loved one. Mark David was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentencing provided closure for Myra and Theria's families. With Mark David Lilius facing life in prison, Bentonville could begin to heal. The trial's resolution marked the end of a painful chapter, bringing a sense of justice and accountability to the community. Life in Bentonville slowly resumed its routine after the trial and sentencing of Mark David Lilius. Myra Everson and Theria Haddon were remembered with fondness and respect by their families and community. While the verdict provided some closure, Myra's family continued to grapple with the pain of her absence. Lydia Everson, Myra's sister, kept her memory alive by volunteering at the homeless shelter where Myra had worked. She found solace in helping others, believing it was what Myra would have wanted. Meanwhile, Theria's friends held a memorial event to celebrate her life, bringing the community together to share stories and remember her. In Theria's honor, her friends established a scholarship fund to help young women achieve higher education, a cause Theria deeply cared about. Detectives Samuel E. Myra and Karen Genora were celebrated for their relentless work in solving the case. They received accolades for their commitment to justice and continued to serve their community with dedication. Janelise Lilius grappled with the harsh reality of her husband's actions and chose to withdraw from the media spotlight following the trial. She concentrated on rebuilding her life, finding comfort and support from her friends and family, despite the deep sense of betrayal she experienced. In the wake of the trial, the community of Bentonville came together, showing resilience and solidarity. They organized fundraisers and community events to aid the victims' families and raise awareness about domestic violence. Bentonville, having faced a dark chapter, emerged with renewed strength, reflecting the collective spirit of unity and the pursuit of justice. The heartbreaking tale of Myra Everson highlights the hidden dangers that can exist within our own lives and the strength of a community confronted with profound tragedy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Truthful Crime. Until next time, stay aware and stay safe.